there's never a reason to me to do this franchise model for off-market real estate.
People do, and they are successful. I have a good friend that's very successful home investors franchisee. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Dylan and Dan Show, also known as the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we like to talk about all sorts of shenanigans to do with off-market real estate for you operators out there, because, I think we used to have the tagline of massive over passive income. I think that's still important. Speaking to your topic, you have massive income, Dylan. Don't say you don't. You're a rich dude. We're going to probably talk about that today and maybe have you do a tell-all story on your financial portfolio.
No.
But Mike is not here, so we're going to have a little more fun today. A little less structure, a little less like stupid things talked about. And this is going to be down to earth, real, just
Mike
two bros.
On one of his rants. But
yeah.
With that being said, I don't know if he's in Portugal or something right now. And I think it is important to note that because, you have you guys, your business and all the facets of what you're doing, it would be a lot harder for me to go to Portugal and fuck off for 2 weeks. I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but it'd be a lot harder for me to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be. In our situation, Mike working part-time from Portugal is him fucking off, because he's kind of like a steady, just always there. You know what I mean? Because right now he's no kids, he's not like us. He's childless, but him and his wife are both entrepreneurs. They both work remotely. And so his life is like, well, I have a laptop, I can do this. And so his little Slack bubble is green most hours of the day. He works and then he plays hard too. So it is him screwing off, but it is nice that we've kind of built our business that way. Just always, because Mike, that's been a major, intention for him, is to be able to pick up and work and do what he wants when he wants, which is for me, but to a less extent, because I've always had kids since him and I started. I had a baby when him and I first started as partners. And that to me, it was more like, I just want the freedom to be able to, if I need to do something with my child or whatever, or just have that additional, I don't know, what would you call financial wherewithal to support a family.
I think the trade-offs outside of you're taking a financial risk for hopefully an exponentially financial reward is just I wouldn't say I definitely work more hours than probably most W-2 people, but it's the flexibility of those hours, right? I'm not clocked in from 9 to 5. I take my daughter to daycare. I pick her up every single day, right? I can go do something get my hair cut at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday if I wanted. Random trade-offs like that they do have their perks, but at the same time, it's 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like, okay, what do I need to get done?
You always have something to get done, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or a lead comes in the middle of the night, and then you're just you want to get to it as quickly as possible. And
totally.
So you never switch it off. There's no off button.
Yeah. And the nice thing, honestly, about having a partner, and I don't know entrepreneurship without a partner, because Mike and I have just, as two entrepreneurs, we've always been working together. I don't know, but it's nice having that security blanket. You do give up half of everything, which sucks. You have to build twice as big to do the same thing. Mike and I need to build twice as big to build the same thing that you're building. But it is nice having that, hey, you want to take, an extra look at this, or, hey, I'm screwing off for the rest of the week, dude. I just don't have it in me. Or I'm traveling like Mike is, and I can sit there and pick up the slack when necessary and vice versa. But it is nice. I was actually having, speaking of just entrepreneurship and leaning into it, a conversation with my younger brother today. He's down in Colorado doing a job. So his background is blue collar. So he kind of worked his way up through a union doing millwright, hydroelectric, dams and facility, repairing a big dam, right? And he has you don't tell me what to do attitude. So he was born to be an entrepreneur. He's just he can't do it. You know what I mean? But he recently quit a job. This was probably 2 years ago. And at all costs just kind of has figured it out. And, he's now in a situation, because a lot of what he does is really, it's almost like labor brokering. So he has an expertise in how to do these, how to repair these dams. And so these big giant companies need him to come in and do the work. And the amount of money he's making now is, way, way, way more than he had a good, multi 6-figure W-2 before. But now it's just way more. But it's way more at once. And so then the consistency is different. And so for him, we were talking about is dude, it would be nice, but I have to make sure that this money carries me out through the next 6 or 8 months, because like the job market, or like the labor market, and the I'll say job market for his type of work is really weird right now, where, these are, tens, 20, $30 million projects that people might be saying, you know what, let's hold off until next year. Let's see what rates are doing. Let's see what's happening, because they have to go and get big investors to come in and help,
Right.
do
And
these
like
giant
the
projects.
uncertainty right now too, probably even,
Yeah, but
exemplifies
I mean,
that.
he can go and make 15, 20 grand a week, right? And doing all this stuff. And then, but he has to get himself out there to look for the next job and the further jobs. And so he's just, getting used to that inconsistent income, which I think is really relative, or really related to like how we live in this business. It's like feast or famine sometimes. You were
My
talking about that.
my mobile banking app has, I don't know why they do this, but they literally have like a graph form of your account balances.
I
And
bet it's
so
so awesome. It's like a
literally it's
sawtooth.
just like a sine wave, like peaks and troughs, like
Yeah.
all the whole time. And I will consistently say, like, cash management as an entrepreneur is probably difficult, but especially in the real estate space, when you're taking down multiple deals or multiple projects at one time, is very challenging. When you're
Totally.
doing the fix and flips, you have rentals, you are trying to send out more like marketing or dispo stuff, like salaries, like
Yeah.
it's hard. Like
Yeah.
it takes someone, like, you can't just fly by night some of that stuff.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah. I couldn't imagine, like, on the scale of like a business our size, like our type of business, but like on like 100 million scale, like being like the treasury manager, of having to make sure there's the appropriate amount of money in the bank account when transactions are happening. It could be such a nightmare, because in this business, you don't know. Like, you're like, oh, it's closing Friday, and then a month later it hasn't closed, or it's 2 days pushed, or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, there's so many things, and these deals, the transactions get so complicated. And like, one of the things you were talking about is just like the team it takes to get a damn deal closed.
Yeah. I mean, like, and one, it takes a team. Two, you never count the money until it's actually in your account, because
Yeah.
they can fall apart
100%.
the last second. But there's been some deals recently where, like, I guess the Rolodex that I've built up over the past couple of years has paid some dividends, because there are some newer buyers that wanted to get started in rentals or fix and flips, whatever it may be, but they didn't have the insurance connection. They didn't have the lenders that they needed. So I was able to introduce them to those said people.
Yeah.
And because of that, we were able to get the deal done, even though their original people said, we can't do a deal like this. So,
Yeah. You need
not
those
only
people.
is who important, but it's also, was worth tens of thousands of dollars in the past couple of weeks.
That's what gets you from doing 4 deals a month to 5 deals a month. It's those little margins that push you to the edge, and sometimes getting any deals done, because they get so complicated. And I would say, for me, even just the last years, we've really leaned into our lending business and had to learn more about that. Going from, we do loans, to no, we're a lender now. Learning about the intricacies of behind the scenes has been super helpful, of like understanding, because like you always look at it from a buyer's perspective, or you're wholesaling deal or whatever, and you're saying, okay, well, we got to get this deal closed. Oh, why is the lender being a prick about this, or why is it getting delayed? Well, now I know some of the things, and the, like you're talking about, knowing the right insurance brokers, knowing the right like title exceptions and things that matter to get something across the finish line with a lender. What are they looking at? There's just so many, like, especially when you have a lender, hard money and private money lenders less so than like a DSCR or like a Fannie Freddie lender, but you're still having to meet their minimum requirements. And depending on where you're getting the money from, it could really turn your deal sideways, on top of all the other BS you have to do to drag your seller and your buyer to the table anyways.
Yeah.
Just so much.
Right. Whether your seller is a drunk alcoholic
Yeah. Yep.
or a flight risk, or, you'd think that, okay, they're going to walk away with 50 grand. That'd be enough of an incentive for them to show up to the closing table sober. But, sometimes that's not always the case.
When you got addiction, man, that addiction wins every time. We talked about on the scale coaching call or community call today. I know Dylan's ran into this a bunch. We had a seller go to jail on a novation deal we were working on. And then we have one that's an alcoholic that we're just trying. She actually, I think after we record, I'm going to go check. She was supposed to sign with title like an hour ago. So I'm hoping that she showed up sober, but her, she likes to apologize during the day and then just rant at how big of a piece of crap I am at night and all this bullshit that I'm going through or putting her through. And it's like, well, Actually, I'm not. I'm helping you. Like,
Yeah, I
you're about to
know,
get
and
foreclosed on.
I've had a deal fall apart at the closing table because the seller showed up intoxicated, and, like,
Mhm.
he, like, legit like, the cops are almost called because he's like, "I'm walking out here with some money." I'm like, "You're not.
No, please
Not."
don't. Please don't say that.
Yeah, "Not today." Like,
Yeah. It's like saying
so
I have a bomb in the airport. Like, just don't do it, dude. Don't do
yeah,
it. Yeah.
luckily, his, soon to be ex-wife was with him, was able to talk him all like, "We'll come back tomorrow
Uh,
and get it." Like, you know,
oh
so
my
but,
God.
like, this kind of stuff happens. When you start this business, you never kind of can even muster up imagine things that happen,
Yeah.
which is
You
kind of
you kind
crazy.
of think you can fathom it. Like you're the, oh, I know what I, but like when you're in this situation and like you've got money on the line and everything, you're like, it's just, oh my God, it just gets so much more detailed and stressful. And you're trying to deal with, I mean, people have real problems, like, and you're
Totally.
dealing with them. And that's why they're coming to us in the off market game, like real problems, whether that's, mental illness, like that's being, self medicated through alcohol and drugs. It's just deep financial stress where they can't make a good decision for the life of them because they're just under the gun all the time. And then you deal with all the other stuff with families involved and tenants and kids and all sorts of weird stuff.
There
It's
is a
it's crazy.
as a quick aside, there is a probate-ish deal that came across, our desk the other day, and I was diving into it, and I learned that there's, like, 8 heirs to the property.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
that's
I
fun.
don't even know if this is worth it, like, to
Yeah,
even try because
yeah,
in my experience, if
probably
there's, like,
not.
3 or more, it always ends up bad, like,
Yeah,
so
yep.
we'll give it a shot, but if they give any kind of pushback, I don't think I will pursue it that much.
Yeah, no, the probate ones are interesting. It's gotta be a fat deal if you know there's multiple heirs, because out of 8 heirs, someone probably hates one of those people and or one each
Totally.
other, and they were
Yeah.
like, "I refuse to sign it. If Betty's making 4 grand, nope, I'm not doing it.
Or
I'll lose
or
4 grand."
that, or they're like, the Zillow says it's worth 250. Why
I
are we
know.
selling it for 175? I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Bruh," like,
yeah. Dude,
they just think
have you
they
been there in the last 20 years? Well, no.
yeah,
Well, it's
yeah,
kind of a piece of crap.
yeah, right. And then I don't know, like, how's business for you guys right now, both on like the okay, you have 3 innovations, like ones that are listed, like mid
Mhm.
rehab or ones to sign. Like, are you still firing on all cylinders? And now it's
We
June.
are we are firing on all cylinders more so than we have all year, and right now it's kinda like all of our projects, like, were, like, I would say, like, wholesale novation flips, like, they're all kinda coming to a head right now, which is, I guess, unintentional, but also intentional. The beginning of the year, obviously, we had a ton of wholesale deals, and I say obviously because that's when flippers are really buying. That's buying season, like January until probably April, because by the end of May, like selling season has kind of peaked and is starting to slow down in the summer. So everybody wants to, and everybody sets their like goals, right? To, hey, it's 2025.
Yeah,
I'm going to do all this.
yeah,
So it's easy to get people to buy. And that's just how it worked out for us too. And so then now we're catching up to a bunch of the weird leads, like the novations. So you mentioned, yeah, we've got 3 properties listed. All 3 are novations. We would have a 4th one in flight that's a novation, but the seller went to jail, and so we're not going to work with him. I don't partner with people on novations that aren't like people I'd partner with on something else.
right.
It's not worth it. And then, yeah, we just sold a flip, and we try to only do one big flip at a time. And so we're doing a big flip right now that we just started this week. So that's going to be probably a 7-week project ideally. And then we'll get that on the market before summer ends. And then, yeah, we have a handful of probably 3 or 4 wholesale deals in escrow. We've got a couple more get signed this week. So we'll probably have, yeah, 5 or 6 wholesale deals in escrow going into next week. And so, yeah, I would say we're firing on all cylinders. We're jamming. We're putting a lot of money out there. Listings are going so. We got one offer on one of our 3 novations like within the first 24 hours. And that one we knew we would. It had a lot of good perks for that neighborhood. The other 2, one's in a rural town. We've got a potential cash buyer on it, which would be great. He's a pilot, and it's near like a small rural airport.
Nice.
And so he kind of
Those are
likes it. Yeah,
those are the ones
exactly.
that take a specific buyer, but it's gotta find them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the other one, we'll see. It's like a 2015 build. We're priced pretty decently, but it's hard to tell on that one because you would think it'd fly off the shelf, but It's also in an area where there's other new homes too, so a lot of
When you do
competition.
the novation ones, and then let's say they come back post inspection and they want $10,000 worth of repairs, how do you navigate that?
Okay, so depends on a couple things, but mostly what we've communicated with the seller. So on any of these three, if we have that issue, we're going back to the seller and saying, "Hey, we need a price reduction. Dude, the furnace is bad, or the roof has to get replaced." If it's going to be like the ticky tacky $1,000, and we've talked to them and told them we would pick up any repairs for any reason, we're going to do those because it's going to be easier for us. We're just going to do. We're not going to bother the seller. On the three that we have now, if we had a large item on any of them, we would go back to the seller and be like, "Hey, this was obviously unexpected. You would have had to deal with this no matter what."
Exactly.
And all three sellers would be like, "Yeah, I get it."
Yeah. This I've never actually formally done a novation. And so, the one time I've tried it just didn't work out. So just was curious how that works.
I don't like them. I don't like them. And then I was at one point last week, I had 4 in our pipeline. I was like, damn it, dude. Like okay. When I say I don't like them, I think they have a purpose and they have a place, and it really depends on the seller. And so, for example, the 3 sellers we're dealing with, one, she is actually a title agent here in town. And the house we're doing was a parent that passed away. And it's like an hour and a half from Spokane. It's a mobile home, or like a manufactured home, really cool manufactured, like double wide, on a full daylighted basement with a big detached shop. Really cool setup, but it was gross. It needed like new carpet, new paint. It just needed to be fixed up. And she's like, "I don't want to go back and forth doing this thing. I just don't want to deal with it. If you guys are willing to just like handle it all for me, then heck yeah. Then I don't have to do anything." And so that's why she was incentivized. There was an old guy whose wife had passed away, like a 2015 new build. It just had been lived in and they never did anything to it. So it was just like the carpets were kind of gross. The walls were kind of dirty. The fixtures were kind of like, it needed a few $1,000s worth of work. And the old guy's like, "My wife died. I just want to get out of this house and I don't want to deal with any of this. I'm moving to Montana just to get away and I just want to walk away." Okay, cool. And then the third guy, he was a contractor that was working on building his own house, like out somewhere in a rural area. And he wanted to basically know what he was going to get paid and when it was going to close so he could get his takeout loan on his new build home or whatever.
Yeah. So logistically. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the one and he wanted to, this has been like a 6-month deal for us because we had to wait for him. And then it finally kind of came to fruition. But that one's like the most narrow margin, but it's like, if we had a major thing, we would just be like, "Hey dude, we got to go back to you." Like, and he would get it.
I've actually only lost money on one fix and flip deal. And it was when I tried to partner with the seller who is also a contractor. And it ended up just biting me in the ass because this work was shit. And then,
oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. Yeah. This guy's like, "I'm a contractor." So I go and walk the house before we're getting ready to go do paint and carpet. And I bring our contractor over there and I'm looking at it and I'm like, "Yep, this guy was definitely a contractor. Just everything's half done, not done right."
Yeah, it's not done right. And they show it off like they're so proud of it. And then they're like,
"I did this."
You're like,
cool.
"I redid this bathroom all by myself." I was like, I can tell.
Yeah. I can see that tile is going to have some problems.
Yeah, right. But
oh yeah, dude.
It's kind of the same over here. It's like, it's the whole, you send out marketing, deals come in, you go in a lull, like managing the cash flow and intake. But we have 8 that I've recently taken down that are in either like mid rehab, in the listing stage. I have to get the tenants out of some. And then there's 5 more in escrow that I'd like to just assign or find buyers for. So managing the dispo.
That's a lot in escrow though. I mean, really 13.
Yeah.
Total.
Between inventory and escrow is 13. And so in all of them have either June or July dates. Right. So I don't know. I feel like I'm barely above water in some of these right now, on top of managing the new leads that come in and, all the stuff that goes with running an off-market business.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, do I hire a project manager, or is this just like a season where you buckle down, you get through it, and then you're on the other side of it in 90 days?
Yeah, that's a good question though. Like to hire a project manager, because it's like I feel like you're committing to being a flipping company.
Yeah, and I don't want to be a flipping company, even though I've been less likely to assign something because I'm trying to maximize revenue right now, and I feel like taking titles a better way to do that.
Right. We have a mutual friend that lives in Montana that's a home builder. And I loved his model because he was doing this isn't for flips. Again, he's a home builder. It was like $8,000 per home. And he told his guy that he was trying to do like, I don't know what it is, like 10 houses a year or something like that. And so he was paying basically a project manager per project, but he's essentially committed full time to him. And he was able to get, the project manager was a guy who was able to make $100,000 a year. I just thought that was a great way to do it, because you're not saying, I'm going to give you 10% as a GC or anything like that. You're keeping the construction in-house. You're bringing a project manager in, but you're not committing yourself to a salary. I don't know that works well with flipping, but
Yeah,
like I like that theory, like the idea of like a fixed flat fee per project. That's the nice thing about new construction, though, is you can do that because you can forecast
your
everything.
stuff doesn't really change all that much. Yeah, your layouts are the same, your materials are the same.
Yep.
That's the other thing. And like I've had to resource some more contractors because my go-to 2 or 3 guys, they can't do 8 at one time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and one of them was a freaking bust, and so I had to, fire him, get him up the job, and like. So that's the thing. And like on top of, I order most of the materials because I don't want them to rip me off of material costs.
Yep,
and so
exactly.
It's just, I don't know.
How do you do that? I'm sure there's some folks listening here that want to know how you're managing your materials, because I have started using a little bit of technology on this, and I'll share my stuff after you go. But like, how are you doing that?
I mean, it's not fancy. I have an Excel sheet that basically of all the stuff we've used before. I don't change a lot of things up. So paint's the same, the backsplashes are the same, the countertops are the same. Basically, it's all the same material. So I'll just copy and paste the material things. The only thing that changes is like the measurements, right? Like your countertops are going to be different, like that kind of stuff. It's mostly Home Depot. Sometimes it's Lowe's, and then the granite. We use some like local people here that are for that. But I don't know if that answers your question, but
no. So the reason why I bring this is because I was very much so like that. And then recently I started using some of the Lowe's Pro stuff, because I personally don't like Lowe's at all. Like I just don't like going in store or anything like that. But their technology, when we were setting up some pro discounts for the scale community, and Home Depot was like the worst. Like they were like, no, we don't do that. I'm like, I know you do national accounts. And they're like, nope, they just nobody. And like Lowe's actually was like, yeah, we do this and all this sort of stuff. And so then with that, I got some training on their systems. And so along with some of the discounts they give, which is decent, you can go in there and you can build like templates for projects. So what I have, for example, is a 24-inch vanity bathroom. So in Spokane, you're going to have a bathroom that's going to be standard. And this is going to be most of America. You're going to have a 60-inch wide bathtub, and you're going to have a toilet that's going to be built for 12.5-inch off of the wall, all that sort of stuff. And you're going to have a 24-inch, a 36-inch, or a 48-inch vanity that fits in most of the houses that we're doing these projects from, unless it's something quirky. But the standard workforce housing that we're always working in, that's it. And so when you get a 24-inch vanity, you always get the vanity light that is that proper width, and you get the mirror that's that proper width. You get the same faucet, right? But then I know when I'm replacing a vanity, I'm always getting my guys new supply lines, valves, all that stuff. So it's a package. So then I go to Lowe's. I talk to my contractor. I'm like, what is this, 24-inch vanity? Yep. Okay, cool. I click turn that into a quote, which then converts it into like my cart or whatever, my project. And then I can order it all. And when you go through Lowe's, when you set up like the quote on their pro desk, you actually get better discounts, which is a weird thing to do.
VSP program or something like that.
Yeah, it's weird that they do it that way. I think it's stupid, but it's like, whatever, just do it. And then if you get their LCA account, like their commercial account, which is like just their credit card with like a commercial account, you can just put stuff on, then you get more discount as well. But the nice thing, and my point bringing that up, is that I can just go in there and say it's a 24-inch bathroom, 36-inch bathroom, whatever. And then the same thing goes for everything.
Piecing together every single thing that you're doing that I'm doing, but mine's just in my order history.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I used to do it. It'd be like, order again, or I'd like, oh, this is the one I want. And then you can go to Amazon if that's where you want to buy all your lights and your fixtures and all that stuff. And you just kind of have
cabinet pulls for the audience. Yeah, that's where we get all the cabinet pulls.
Yeah, exactly. This is my black. This is my nickel. That, you know what I mean? Yeah. So when I used to do a lot more, what I would do is I had a designer that we'd pay like $500 to, and she would go in there and I would say, hey, I'm trying to keep the existing kitchen cabinets. Tell me everything I need to do to make this look good. And she would be like, okay, this color, that color. It was way less stressful because then I could because there's only like 3 colors you're going to pick for anything.
For $500, this is a steal, because
it was great.
I feel like most off-market people, myself included, I'm really dumb when it comes to design. That's why we just do white and black freaking everything.
Everything,
right?
exactly.
But I feel like rentals, that's fine. But like, I feel like almost today, you need a little bit more pop, or like you need something that stands out a little bit more. You need to be a little bit better. Like feature walls that had the little they almost look like quarter
like
round
slats or whatever.
Yeah, like all that kind of stuff. Like I don't do any of that typically.
Or like if you got like a powder bath, you got to have like some cool little unique tile in there that's like the little teeny tiles that have like a design. Yeah. So I mean, I wasn't doing that shit back then. I was just like, hey, I want to keep some of this stuff here, but I don't want it to look gross. Because one thing I don't like is when you go into a house and you see like matte black pools or matte black like doorknob and then like a nickel like hinge and then like gold in the kitchen. Like it gets like, you're like, okay, it doesn't tie together. And a simple change of just tying it all together will actually drive more revenue, because people are coming in and they're like, oh, this looks like it was well done. Just like a new build. If it looks like a spec build versus, hey, this is a designer, home, it just looks better. It doesn't cost much more.
Well, on that too, like don't try to pitch pennies on the finished stuff, because like like to us, we're like, oh, that's an easy fix. That's $50, right? But to like a first time home buyer, someone's buying that house, if they see something that's just a little bit off, their first impression is like, well, what else did they not do right? Right. And so, my good example of this is we bought a place I was trying to wholesale. And I literally did nothing to it. I put it on the market for what it appraised at. I had a couple showings, but like no offers, like nothing.
Wow.
And then I repainted it, freshened up the landscaping, put new carpet, new paint. Really, I didn't even touch the kitchen or the bath.
Yeah.
And listed it for $50,000 more, and we were under contract in 2 days.
There you go. Curb appeal matters, and then like having that like fresh look when you come in, it matters, dude.
100%, especially if we're selling to owner occupants, FHA buyers, first time home buyers, etc.
Yeah. Yep. So 8 projects going in for Dylan. That's awesome. When are you going to clear them off your books? What's your goal here?
Well, I like all of them to be at least under contract by end of June for July closings. This is the ideal situation, but you know how that goes, which means they'll probably all close in like fucking September or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And on the revenue side, I mean, all of these are, I think the thought process I went through was, okay, these are going to be directionally correct, but not accurate. Like $300,000 in like accounts receivable between all these projects.
That's pretty sweet.
And that's about what we've done year to date. Whereas if I would have wholesaled these, I mean, they're maybe 100 to 150 between all of them.
So you're doubling
the revenue just by taking on that burden. And to me, I'm like, I need to maximize revenue because the cost per lead's kind of going up. So my exit strategy here is like, so if something does go wrong, I could refinance to these. They could be rentals, and they wouldn't kill me, right?
Yeah.
I could sell them a year or two from now.
That's a unique thing in your market, that you can take some of these and turn them into rentals. And I'm assuming you're not going to be negative cash flow on a bunch of them.
No, I mean, they could be pretty close to break even.
Yeah,
even with the set asides, like they're like that. So take 15% off the top or whatever.
That's I think that's just a good point to share, because Mike and I might say like, dude, no way, I don't want to do that, because we can't. We're going to lose $500 a month on a house or $1,000 a month, just because the differences in the markets. Where for you it is an option, and so you can press a little harder. Where I might not want to do more than 4 at a time, you're able to do 8 because you're like, hey, if realistically, all 8 aren't going bad. If 2 or 3 go bad, I can throw it in my portfolio, break even. You can absorb it. You're fine. Not the case for us.
I was actually listening, and this is a while ago, but it stuck with me. Cam Cathcart on the Better Life podcast. He used to work for basically like a regional wholesaling company in the St. Louis area before he did what he does now. And they were reviewing the company's KPIs, and the long story short is they basically lost money on like 5 deals throughout the year out of like 250. Wow. And he's like, well, we lost, $100,000 on these 5 deals. But the CEO, the person in charge, was like, okay, well, next year, if these are our metrics, there's no reason why we shouldn't try to double our business, because your winners more than make up for your losers.
Yeah.
Right.
Way more. Yeah.
And so that difference in, okay, you lose 10, 15 grand on one, you can, the worst spot is if you're doing 1 or 2 deals at a time and you have that loss.
Yeah.
Right. So there is more to the scale aspect of doing these that is almost more safe, I guess.
Totally. Yeah. I don't know if I could do 250 though. Golly, that would be a lot.
Yeah. Well, they had a huge operation, right?
Of course. Even then, geez, that's a lot. I mean, good for them. Some people can manage and handle that. That seems like a lot to me.
It is a lot. And this is a little off topic, but I had a new franchisee reach out to me today. Um,
Oh,
and it's like Homefesters, but it's not. Hold on, see if I can find the name of it.
backyard home buyers.
That wasn't back on our bars. I would have told them to get fucked. Um, it's like new home. I don't know, but I looked into it, and this guy called me, and I was like, "Bro, this sounds exactly like Homefesters."
Yeah. So is it like a newer franchise you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. I never heard of him before, and I was asking him questions when he called me because he wants to buy some deals. But they expect them to like they don't give any marketing spend, but they still get like some of the revenue. And I was just like, I'm thinking about this. Like, there's never a reason to me to do this franchise model for off market real estate.
Right. Yeah.
Like, unless they're going to provide you the leads, which they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. You figured it. You personally figured it out though. Somebody that's a semipreneurs, that's the allure, right? You just step into it. But if they're not going to give you what you need, at least home investors, although they charge you for everything, they give you everything you need. They have a pretty well-oiled system. I would not choose home investors, but people do, and they are successful. I have a good friend that's very successful home investors franchisee.
Really? Maybe I feel like he's in the minority in that.
He's in the 1%. He's in the 1%. No, he's in the 1%. There's like 1,200 franchisees, and he's probably in the top 120 for sure. You know what I mean? And they've been doing it since 2010-ish, 2012-ish, somewhere in that time frame.
Well, good for him for being able to adapt over the years at that.
Yeah,
it's a lot different now than it was then.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising though. There's a lot of home buying franchises you don't really know that exist out there. Like when we were doing the research to set up our franchise, we had, who was it? Do you know Ken Corsini? He's like an HGTV guy.
I was gonna say the name sounds familiar.
Yeah, him and his wife have a franchise. I think it's called like Red Barn Home Buyers. I mean, by all accounts, they do a good job. Like I have nothing bad to say about them, but like I was like, that's weird. I didn't know that existed. And there's quite a few. I'd be curious to know how Joe Homebuyer's doing, because that was the old guy, the guy that started Wholesaling Inc. He owns Joe Homebuyer, and I just can't imagine it's doing so hot because they didn't provide any support to their franchisees. They just sold these. And I know there was one guy here in Spokane that started one, and he went TU like the same year. Like just was like, nah, this sucks.
New Again Houses.
Houses. Oh, okay.
And I guess it started in Bristol, Tennessee, and this guy just got market share up here. So, I don't know. I just like, to me, if you like, because a lot of these have franchise fees, or you need like 20, 30 grand just to put down.
You gotta pay quite a bit. Like some of the, in like home investors, for example, you might have to pay 80 to 100 grand depending on the demand for the franchise in that market.
But imagine if you just put that money into marketing.
Oh yeah, exactly. Totally. 100%. Okay. Because that money's gone, right? I mean, granted, you do get the systems and the SOPs, and you get their call center, and they'll do all the mail for you. But the downside is you have no insight into that. So our friend that does the home investors franchise here, like to him, it's foreign. He's like, I don't know, dude. I just pay him more money, and then they send me more leads. He's like, that's all I do.
That's great for them. Yeah. I get it. But at the same time, like you need proof of concept before you spend 75 to 100 grand.
Oh, yeah. So. 100%. Yeah. Because not only do you have that, but then you have the call center fees. So they charge you per minute for the home investors franchises. Then they charge you for your software, because then they have like a build out of Salesforce that you use with all these tools in it that most people don't use, which is kind of funny. But you got to pay monthly for that. Then you got to pay a percentage of all of your deals, even if they're flips and buy and hold. You have to pay a percentage of the appraised value. It's
just so hard to, I feel like, not like keep the conflict of interest separated in a scenario like that. But
yeah,
I mean, did you guys go into 2025 with a revenue goal that you're like, are you still on track for that, or
no? We're not. We did. I think I wouldn't say we're not on track, but I think our revenue goal for this year was 2.5 million.
That's a lot.
And so I don't think we'll hit that. The thing interesting about us is like half our company, all of our company is basically gone for the month of June except for me. So I'm running the whole damn thing for the month of June and into July. And that's a lot with the lending business as well. So we'll probably already naturally just see a decrease. There's just not enough. There's just not enough available resources. But like we had a little bit slower start to the year. But hopefully we can get somewhere near that. I just don't think we'll hit it.
That's the whole thing. If your goal is 2.5 and you get to even 2 or 1.5, is that really a loss? No.
No, we're making money. We have
Yeah.
decently high margins because we have the partnership structure we have, and we don't have a lot of staff right now. The only actual paid staff we have is cold callers that we have in-house, the American cold callers that actually come to our office and call every day. That's it.
Yeah.
So
and real quick, and we can wrap this up. How new are they, and how has it gone from having American-based cold callers to, the traditional cold callers that people use in this business?
So the 3 that we have right now, we have 2 young guys and then a young lady. She just graduated college, but she's like working towards like real estate license. And the other 2 guys are just, one's graduated 18 and the other
how much are they calling?
It varies week to week, but they're basically part-time.
Okay.
Think about 15 to 20 hours a week each. So,
single line dialer?
No, we give them a 3-line dialer.
3-line dialer.
Yeah. So yes, they're doing good. I think because they're very inexperienced and they're not only learning real estate, they're learning cold calling. It's like we knew going into it that we were going to have to commit some time and resources to grow their skills. And ideally, that happens. And we'd love it if one of them got into real estate and we could bring him in as like a junior acquisitions manager. That would be like the ideal situation. That was kind of the idea, is like, hey, let's pour into them, let's teach them, run some like educational stuff for them to get them kind of into real estate, get them excited about things. But I would say I personally would like to see them doing more, but they're not working full time. So from the lead gen side, there's just not enough leads coming in for what you would think for them. But I mean, if they're accumulatively only working, say, 55, 60 hours a week between the 3 of them, I mean, you're going to get an Egyptian caller that's going to get you 5 to 10 leads a week. So it's not like it's that much.
I mean, they're, I don't know. It's just different. I didn't know the conversion rate, and you probably don't have enough data to even support.
Not yet. We don't. We actually did a check-in for our L10, and I was like, "There's no point even looking at this. Like, we're making a decision from this information because we committed to 6 months or 3 months. I can't remember what we committed to, and then we would look at the data and see what we want to do. And so, we're only a couple months into it. And the bummer about Washington State is like minimum wage is kind of high. It's like $16.66 an hour plus payroll tax. So you're damn near paying them like 18
somewhere
bucks an
else.
hour. Seriously, I know, right? Yeah. We get some cold callers out in Cincinnati. But I say that, so for you that are listening, I mean, you can pay $5 or $6 an hour and get a really good Egyptian cold caller. Or if you're in a lower minimum wage state, say minimum wage is like $8 an hour, pay them $9 an hour for somebody, like you'll do well especially if they're committed really in diving into it and you're teaching them and coaching them.
Yeah, you got to coach them. You have to do call reviews. You can't just say repetition and then assume they're going to get better.
Absolutely. And so that's what we've had to implement on our end too. Some of the coaching call review, which at the timing is great because then like our sales lead is out of the country for the next like 6 weeks. So that sucks. But he'll come back refreshed, I guess, and hopefully we'll have some cold call leads for him to fall with.
Yeah.
So
well, cool, Dan. Anything else to report on for?
Nope. We will. No, I think this week's gonna end hopefully nicely for us, and we're gonna get a decent closing on this alcoholic's house that we're hopefully gonna help her not lose all of her equity, and she can move on from it. We're gonna make a little scratch on it. So
there you go.
That's gonna be hopefully next week when we're doing the podcast. I can report out on that one. The drama. So
just get her. There's not a gift card to AA, but
don't say it. I'll get her a coin, a one day chip. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
You one day, you're gonna earn this today. I promise.
It's like the Serenity Prayer or something like that. I don't remember.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Cool, man.
All right, guys. Have a great week and hit us up on Instagram if you want to know how much money Dylan makes every single year that he can have a stay-at-home wife, part-time. Dylan_does_deals.
You got it.
Instagram. All right. Yep. See you guys.
See ya.